Welcome to Keto Beyond the Couch, episode 306.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jeff.
And we are
Two
crazy ketos.
Keto, that's what I said.
I know. It's hard though when you've been for a week
filming camping videos.
Yeah,
we do that a lot. Like sometimes we'll introduce ourselves as two crazy campers on a two crazy ketos video and vice versa. Busy week.
Yeah.
We were at the Florida RV Super Show. Some exciting things happening that were unexpected.
Much fun. And I just want to say welcome to anybody new here. If you are new here, please say hi in the chat, hi in the comments if you're watching after the live stream. But if you are new here because we met you at the Florida RV Super Show, please let us know, hey, howdy, hey, because we would love to welcome you. You are so very welcome, not just by us, but by everybody in the Two Crazy Ketos family. I guarantee it.
It's kind of weird because like we were so busy this week getting up every day at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock, but leaving by like 6:30, 7 o'clock to get to the show, then getting back late at night and doing that every day. And then yesterday we had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, drive 3 hours down to Fort Lauderdale to get the rest of our stuff
almost
from our house. Yeah,
nearly.
There's like one pickup truck left worth of stuff that I just had no more room to put things. Today we have to unload that. I don't even know where we're going to put our stuff, but
it's funny.
It'll work.
So we're playing because, time is such an issue. So we're making fast decisions still on like what do I keep and what do I leave behind?
There's a lot of stuff that's still going to get thrown out.
And which I know. I mean, there's stuff we've brought that once we go through it, we'll, have to get rid of it. But like, I just think it's funny. You almost want to play a little game with your pantry if you were getting started, on keto, or like if you're trying to unclutter a drawer, or you're just, there's so many things that if there was a time mechanism and it wasn't like, oh, I could just agonize and like create a reason why I need to keep this thing in my life, then you could probably negotiate it staying. But we're like, we don't have time for that. So
which reminds me of cluttering a drawer. Did you empty out the junk drawer in the house?
I just dumped it. Talk about something that is.
Yeah, it's always full of garbage.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't dump my tape measures. No.
I kept all of that. But I mean, we'll still have to go through it. But I just thought that was funny because I was like, there are some things that you just can't take time
to go through,
to untangle right now.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm actually looking forward to getting back to work on the house.
Yes.
I mean, I want to get the house done, but I feel like that will be less work than this past week.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we're back. We have some time now to really work on the house up until the last week of March, which we'll talk about a little bit later on because, some cool things happened at the show this weekend that we're excited to share with you guys. But yeah, super excited. And we're ready to get into Keto Beyond the Couch. Now, if you are new here, this is Keto Beyond the Couch. Keto Beyond the Couch is all about our subscribers. We do this every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Do it live most of the time, but sometimes if we're traveling, we have to pre-record it. And, what we like to do is celebrate subscribers. Find things from our social media, like our Mighty Networks group, like members.twocrazyketos.com. It's completely free. And because we are all about community. And find posts where people have talked about success they've had and also answer any questions and comments. Now, if you get any kind of, if you get any kind of benefit out of our channel, we greatly appreciate it. If you would like, share, and subscribe to our videos. And if you want to help us further, either join our Mighty Networks paid group or buy us a cup of coffee with the link down below. Now, if you are new here, the way we're going to do this when we're live is we're going to go through all of our questions and comments. We don't really pay attention to the chat until the very end. So if you have a question, either A, hold off to the last 10 or 15 minutes of the stream, or use the super chat function, which highlights our screen and lets us know you have a question so we don't miss it.
You have not even had a cup of coffee, my friend, and you sound like the Micro Machine guy.
You got so much to go.
I guess that's it.
And I know that there's a lot of things going on today. And people want to go watch that stuff. It's Martin Luther King Day. It's Inauguration Day. So
happy everything.
So, okay, we're going to start off with this post from Mary.
Mary T.
Said, just keep going. She said, if you are just starting and the road ahead seems long, keep going. The time will go by anyway.
So true.
If you are stalled and it seems you aren't making progress, keep going. The progress is happening behind the scenes. If your friends and family or your doctor are telling you this is an unhealthy, unsustainable way of life, keep going. By leading through example, you are changing the world. Your friends and family are especially your doctor will see the truth as it emerges from your beautiful butterfly cocoon.
Ooh.
Keep going. You will be glad you did keto every day.
What a blessing, Mary. And she was actually recently sharing some pictures, like before and after pictures of herself, her own personal success. What a victory and what a blessing Mary is in our life. I love you so much, Mary T. I just, right before we were going live, shared a victory of our own. I took a picture of our bed, like the bed frame that you had created for us. Of course, we took our mattress with us, but we were leaving the bed itself behind. And I was getting frustrated because by the time I took the picture, I had already taken out so many boards and hauled them to like the bulk trash pile that we had in the front. And I thought, how many flippin' boards am I going to have to take apart in order to get this bed apart? Then it hit me. The reason why we had the bed we did is because we could not trust that we could purchase a store-bought bed when we got married
I built it.
that we could afford, that would hold us both.
There was a lot of extra support on that bed.
So there was so much extra support that Joe had to like put into the bed when he was building it to make room for us when we got married. And we now have the victory. Like Mary is saying, keep going. We have the victory. I can go into a regular store and buy regular furniture now. That's not something that I celebrate on the regular, but it is something that has resulted from consistency on keto. So if you're like, hey, I'm not there yet, please be hopeful for your future, because just keep going. We did. And now we can let go of some of the things that we had in our previous life pre-keto.
Yep. Next one we have is from Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
I wanted to share, in the last 30 days, the scale says I'm down a half a pound. But that isn't the whole story, because I have an in-body scale. I know that I have gained 1.6 pounds of muscle and I've lost 3 pounds of fat.
Wow.
Progress is totally happening. Please don't rely on the number on the scale to share the whole truth.
Mic drop.
That happened with you when the first time you ever did beef, butter, bacon, egg. If you go back to that 3 years ago, and we had Dr. Sivas go over all of our labs before and after,
and Dr. Berry,
and but I was talking about the labs.
Sure.
And then after that, we posted pictures of us before and after in our underwear too.
It was a lot.
And Rachel had only lost, actually, I don't think you had lost anything.
Not
If
1
anything,
pound.
You gained like a quarter of a pound or something like that. But when you look at the definition of her body, she had obviously lost a lot of fat, put on some muscle and stuff, because it was like a complete redefining of her body, down multiple sizes and all of that. So yeah, the scale isn't everything. That's why we say the scale's the devil. Next one is from Robert.
Hey, Robert.
I'm using my Vitamix to make my creamy. How warm would I have to get the warm water to use to get to leach the plastic? I think you're saying to not leach the plastic.
Okay.
So if you're using the Vitamix to mix your stuff, and you're using butter, which is the only time you need to use warm water. So if you're making keto chow and if you're using butter, coconut oil, basically any fat source that is solid at room temperature. So butter, tallow, coconut oil, lard, bacon grease, any of that kind of stuff, you need to use warm water so that it doesn't solidify.
Sure.
When the fat hits the water. The temperature does not have to be hot. It has to be warm. So you're looking at somewhere around 90, 95 degrees. You don't want it really hot, because that can begin to degrade the vitamins that are in keto chow. So you just want it warm. So generally, it's like, to me, I put my hand under the faucet. If I can't keep my hand there, it's too hot. Okay, so just think about it. If you were to put butter in that water, will the butter start solidifying as soon as the butter goes in? If the answer is yes, the water is not warm enough. Here's the good news. When you do use a fat source like that, and then you put it in the refrigerator, maybe you didn't use warm enough water and it chunks up, all is not lost.
Right. That's a victory.
Pull the blender ball out. Okay.
Yes.
Put it into the microwave. Warm it up. You can dump it in glass. Like I would dump it into a glass container. Warm it up to, again, you want to get it warm where everything melts. Reuse your blender, and then you can put it back in the refrigerator, or you can drink it warm.
Thank you very much for saying, oh, we have a super chat. Thank you. Thank you for saying to take the blender bottle, like the little ball thing out, balls, because we have forgotten that in the past. And you talk about some, like, knowing right away you've made a mistake.
Glorious, thanks for the $19.99 super chat.
Thanks,
said, oops,
Gloria.
you need money to buy it.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you so much. I am excited for having store-bought furniture. Like Joe made a lot of furniture in our house. I appreciate your craftsmanship. But it wasn't just because we wanted to showcase his craftsmanship. It was out of have to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next one we have is from Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, everyone. I will be ending my 21-day liquid fast on Tuesday, and I'm looking for suggestions on the best way to break my fast. What food would be easier on my stomach? I'm thinking boiled eggs. Thanks in advance for the knowledge you bring to the table. I really enjoyed this community.
Thanks, Laura.
So when you're saying a liquid fast, you're talking about you've been doing like water and electrolytes only. If that's the case, start off with some bone broth. You want something that's easy on your stomach. So your first meal should be like maybe some bone broth, add maybe a little bit of coconut oil. One of the things I like to put in there is turmeric because that helps with your gut biome and stuff like that. You're going to shock your system a little bit.
Yeah.
So do that. And then maybe like a half hour to an hour later, eat a meal, and I wouldn't go with a large meal because again, you're going to be shocking your system a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where like the boiled eggs or something like that. But I would start off with a little bit of bone broth where you're getting some of that protein, maybe a little bit of fat. Just understand you may get some gastric distress.
Because your body's like, wait, what?
You may get some bathroom pyrotechnics if you upload too much fat and stuff like that at the same time. But so take it easy. Start off with bone broth and like an hour later, have a small meal.
We actually have a video of like how we break a fast with a bone broth drink with all of the ingredients that Joe is talking about. So you may want to check that out.
Next one we have is from Joel.
Hey, Joel.
I met with my new doctor yesterday. I brought all my keto books and told her about some other ones. She seemed very interested.
Nice.
I got my blood work done, and so far everything looks in the normal range. My total cholesterol is 161 with an HDL of 61. My LDL is 100. My triglycerides are 37.
That's sexy.
And my A1C is 52. Have you had your annual physical? How did it go? I'm just going to say, Joel, those numbers are amazing.
Yeah.
First of all, you've got a 161 total cholesterol with an HDL of 61 and LDL of 100. That means your VLDL or your remnant cholesterol is 0, rounded anyway.
All your cholesterol is occupied.
And your triglycerides are 37, which is very low. And you've got, what is that? Like a 2-to-1, almost 3-to-1 of triglyceride to HDL ratio. So like, wow.
If I was your doctor, I'd be very interested too.
And that was great because,
amazing.
As Mary talked about, like we are the spokespeople to our doctors. A lot of doctors may not think what we're doing is right because of education they've had or pressure they get from, insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies and things like that. But it's hard to deny it when you see numbers like that.
The lab work doesn't lie.
Yeah. And that's where like bringing keto books like Dr. Berry's book and some of the other keto books out there, that is a big help. You can say, hey, would you consider at least taking a look at this?
Well, I was talking to Donna Joe and she was saying how she's actually had books where she's gone to a keto conference and then got it signed by the doctor. Like she had gifted a Ben Bickman book and had gotten him to sign it, gave it to her doctor, so that you're just letting them know that you're not like just pushing it in their face and being like, hey, get educated, dummy. But you're just like, hey, this is a gift that I am giving you because
this is how I did it.
This is how I did it. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate this relationship, and I would like to do my part in supporting this relationship.
Yep. Next one we have is from Jamie.
Hey, Jamie, I've learned so much from this keto community and certainly learned so much from Joe and Rachel. Thanks, Jamie. I do like to do my own research and I want to investigate certain things further so that I can have a knowledgeable conversation with someone regarding keto diet controversies like cholesterol, red meat, etc. on the hows and whys. What are the best websites to go on for that? Because everyone I have seen is very biased and against keto.
So website wise, it's gonna be a little more difficult. One of the best ones that I'm gonna tell you, especially when it comes to cholesterol, would be Dave Feldman's The Cholesterol Code. From there, there's a few books. Dr. Berry's book, Dr. Boz's book,
Lies
like
My
Keto
Doctor
Continuum.
Told Me is good.
The Salt Fix is another good book to talk about sodium, where everybody's always like, you got to eat less sodium, eat less sodium, eat less sodium. So the Salt Fix is good. My best advice would be to watch videos from the people we just talked about.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking for information from medical doctors, and you can take notes, and also going to keto conferences where these physicians are speaking. Dr. Berry, Dr. Boz, Dr. Lenskis,
Dr. Hampton,
Dr. Tony Hampton,
Dr. Seaman,
Dr. Jamie Seaman. These are all people who are medical doctors.
Dr. Palmer.
And talk about these different things where you can get your questions answered and educate yourself there. And then if they want more information, point them back to the videos that you have watched. Dr. Berry has videos on everything from, the myth of protein will kill your kidneys.
Oh, yeah.
To
very specific.
Can you do keto without a gallbladder? Dr. Boz has a lot of that kind of stuff. Dr. Boz talks a lot about cholesterol. So does Dr. Berry. I mean, all of these physicians do.
Dr. Tro.
But the websites are hard, especially if you do a Google search, because we all know the Google search, it kind of skews you back towards eating a standard American diet. I've even tried to use AI for things, and you'll always come back, eat less red meat, eat more plant-based meat, eat, seed oils aren't that bad, even though you see more and more just in mainstream talking about seed oils. As a matter of fact, we saw some really good news the other day, and that was it Steak and Shake is switching from seed oils to using beef tallow for all of their fried food.
I love that. I love that they've just like, you know what, we've made a decision. They're coming ahead of what I think is going to be the curve. I think it's going to be the new trend. Is going to be like, beef tallow is sexy, baby. Let's cook everything in the beef tallow.
I mean, it's like years ago, McDonald's used beef tallow for their French fries.
That's why their fries were different.
They were delicious. And then what they did was, for a few reasons, number one, to kind of satisfy the vegan community, or really vegetarian community
in the 70s.
And also cost. And because you had this big push in the 70s and 80s of, seed oil is good. Remember, they were marketed to us as heart healthy oil. I remember when canola oil came out, this is heart healthy, no saturated fat or lower saturated fat.
Right.
They switched over, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, well, now your fries suck.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't have that beefy taste to them. So they had to now figure something out. So they started adding in chemicals and flavorings to make it taste like it did when they were using beef tallow. French fries should have 3 ingredients: potatoes, oil, like beef tallow, and salt.
Yeah.
And if you go look at the amount of ingredients in McDonald's French fries, it's insane.
Ridiculous.
And I remember, like, there was a big thing with even RFK, where they'd gone to an event and they were all on the plane, and they had McDonald's out there, and he like held up the fry and was like, I would love to enjoy your fries, McDonald's. Can you please go back to beef tallow?
Make him in a beef tallow. Because it's interesting. Yeah, they added natural flavors to it because of the smell. Because as you all know, that's a huge component of taste. I don't even need to like have the taste. The smell is what does it. That's why when you have a cold or something and you can't take, you can't smell, that you're like, well, everything tastes terrible because I can't smell. So they use that for their benefit. Before we move on, I just wanted to mention Dr. Eric Westman as well is another fantastic resource. And he has lately been doing a lot of like reactionary YouTube videos where somebody says something and then he is able to
break it down
and give you the truth.
Next one we have is from Vicky.
Hey, Vicky.
I'm sure that one of the things that is slowing down my progress is that I'm a night owl. That's one of my biggest problems. I rarely go to sleep before midnight, but I usually don't get up until 7 or 8 in the morning. I definitely need community for support. My husband doesn't get the keto thing and frequently will say, I know you're trying to watch it, but try this. What helped was coming back from the doctor and saying, I'm a borderline type 2 and I'm supposed to cut back on sweets and gluten.
You know, that is a great perspective. And I'm going to say, if you believe you need community, you need it even more than you think. So lean into the Two Crazy Ketos family, the community that you can find, especially in our Mighty Networks group, a very close knit bunch of people there. If you're just needing people to come alongside you, we even have accountability groups to keep you on track. But what I am going to say is, when you think about, I need to reduce my sugar, I need to reduce my gluten, every single person needs to come to that decision for themselves. There's nothing beneficial about having sugar or gluten in your life. There's no help. So if people would be like, well, I don't want to talk about things like a keto carnivore, because then you feel like there's a niche. But if you can just wrap your mind around, this sugar is not doing me any good. There's nothing nutritious I'm getting out of the sugar. And I can see that clearly, with so much problem surrounding gluten and the efforts to reduce it, that gluten isn't benefiting me either. So if people can decide, hey, I need to eliminate sugar and gluten, they'd be halfway there.
Honestly, nobody should eat gluten. Gluten is a toxin. Okay. It is a plant toxin and causes a lot of damage to our body. I did see this over here from FMP Feelgood. Said, I don't normally watch Bobby Parrish, but he went into B-Dubs and asked them what beef tallow they use and checked the ingredients on it. And it turns out it has preservatives and deodorizers in it. I'm sure it does. And here's the thing, to me, it's still better than using a seed oil.
Yeah.
If you're going out to eat, understand you're never going to get a perfectly. If you only want to eat perfectly clean ingredients,
stay home.
You pretty much got to stay home, and also pretty much, you know, you're going to be very limited. You're going to eat like beef and eggs, and even there, you're probably going to be better off to eat the cow that you personally slaughtered. Because even if you go to the store and buy chicken, and unless you're buying pasture-raised chicken from a local farmer, there's stuff in that chicken. They add stuff to plump it up. And so when you go out to eat, you have to make a few concessions.
Right.
But to me, it's better than the alternative of them using vegetable oils and corn oils and soy oils and things like that. Yeah. And so that's where you have to get into the 90% is good enough. One thing about B-Dubs, though, I will say, be careful with B-Dubs. We love B-Dubs. If you don't know what B-Dubs is, it's Buffalo Wild Wings. There's two kinds of Buffalo Wild Wings. There's the main stores, and then there's like B-Dubs to go or whatever. It's like they're usually just for takeout and stuff. They use seed oils. Yeah. They don't use the beef tallows in those stores. Those stores use seed oils. So if you're going to get B-Dubs, and one of the reasons you're getting it is because they use tallow, don't go to those little to-go places for Buffalo Wild Wings. I think definitely us as a community, just like we do here in the Two Crazy Ketos family, we need to get in our mindset that we are going to cheer small victories as well as large victories, because let's not let perfect rob good. Yeah. Because we're heading in a better direction. And if we're like, well, I don't want to, I don't think you got it all right yet, then I don't want restaurants to be like, you know what? I wasn't getting as much pushback when I was doing it wrong. Right. I might as well just go back to doing it totally wrong if I'm going to get a bad rap for doing it better. Yeah. I mean, it's like John just said the same thing. And then FMP Feel Good said, this is the truth. I've been making wings at home more, mostly for cost, though, and not nearly as good as my favorite wings, etc., which uses seed oils. Sure. Next one is from, I read that one. Next one's from Sarah. Is there a game changer if you want to track your macros for a period, but it makes you neurotic like me? Use ChatGPT. I just told ChatGPT what I plan to eat today and was specific as possible and didn't have to look up and log anything. Bonus, the foods I entered ended up being 1,800-ish calories, 150 grams of protein, 135 grams of fat, 4 grams of total carbs. So my intuition was great. It is not perfect, of course, but a great guideline. Edit to
Add disclaimer, I use AI for medical documentation at work, and you do still have to check for accuracy. So don't assume everything that AI gives you is correct. But I
Yeah.
like what you're saying, that we're in a ballpark.
Yeah, especially, you don't know where the AI, it gets smarter and smarter, but you don't know where it's pulling from. Like if it pulls from something like MyFitnessPal, the numbers could be way off.
Yeah.
But the Whole Foods, that's going to be more on the side of, like of like processed foods where people have manipulated. But with Whole Foods and things like that, it's going to be perfect.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about the Savage system that Robert Sykes from Keto Brick created and I joined is the fact that there is built into the Savage system, which is, I mean, it's like $800, but it's a one-time cost,
No,
and you're
lifetime.
you're in it for a lifetime. There's an AI built into that from all of his books and the podcast and like everything that he has amassed, all of his research. So I really love that because I can be more confident in it, and I have used that for myself. And then also you can say, hey, here's what I want to create, and it will create grocery lists for you. It will create entire meal plans for the week, which is really nice.
Next one's from Jen.
Hey, Jen.
Can keto brick be melted down, frozen, and made into ice cream in a Ninja Creamy? Good question.
Yeah.
You might be able to do it with the beef tallow. I don't know if it would work with the cacao butter ones, but with the beef tallow ones, it might. I don't even know if you could add any water because how is it going to emulsify? One of the reasons that you can use stuff like beef tallow and butter and stuff with keto chow would be because
Water.
of the gum acacia.
Yeah.
It helps with the emulsification of the fat, but there's nothing like that in a keto brick. So it might work if you melted it down. I don't know if it would. The thing is that's going to make a very small, very rich, and very high in calorie and fat ice cream because it's small and it's not going to fluff it up really, but it might work.
What we have done is chopped up little bits of a keto brick and then put it into a creamy
that's where I would go.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no like milk or anything like that. I mean, again, one of the reasons that you can turn keto chow is you do have a milk protein, and with this, it's just really, especially the newer ones where it's just beef tallow and a protein and then some flavoring. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you try it, let us know. Next one is from Andy.
Hi, Andy.
So what's all the hype about? I would love to share a keto food item, kitchen item, or even supplement that proved to you it was worth the hype.
Nice.
I learned this week that Right brand thick cut bacon is worth the extra money. The texture, the mouthfeel, how it stays crunchy as leftovers is fantastic. I would agree with you on Right bacon. Like I think that spending the extra money on a thick cut bacon, and I think Wright and Smithfield are some of the best two that you buy at local grocery stores. Thick cut bacon is worth the extra money because it doesn't shrink down as much, and you get especially if you like crispy bacon, you can get it crispier without losing all the fat. So we'll do one real quick because I want to get through all of these. For me, I'm going to say kitchen gadget item that was absolutely worth the hype, and I will never have a kitchen without it, would be some type of an air fryer.
Yeah, the tasty one, especially for the footprint in our RV, has been really beneficial. But yeah, I love the versatility of it. I didn't expect it to be able to cook steaks nicely. I thought they were going to taste like rubber, and we've been very pleasantly surprised and have enjoyed it immensely.
Do you have a food item that is worth the hype?
I'm going to say also dehydrator. Because
I said a food item. We did a thing. Do you have a food item?
I'm right with you as far as, because I'm thinking all of this together. So I like the Right bacon that you're talking about too, the thick cut, because it makes great bacon jerky.
Okay.
And the other food item for me is having the like Steakums or the Philly Gourmet to make meat chips, because I really, really enjoy those.
Next one's from Gail.
Hey, Gail.
Said food is the most abused anxiety drug, and exercise is the most underutilized antidepressant. It's from the Carnivore page.
Ain't that the truth?
So we're going to go ahead and take a quick fade to black and come right back with the rest of the comments.
Ooh, there's somebody at our door.
Here, you can do that one.
Okay. So the next one comes from Josh. Hi, Josh. Gonna get back into keto. Wondering if there is info on how much you are supposed to eat as in a meal. Thanks. So the whole goal is really to lead with meat, eat as much as you can to get comfortably full, and then let's see how much you're supposed to eat in a meal. If you're leading with meat, that's really going to help you to stay on track and to not to have to worry about like how much am I supposed to eat.
Yeah. So this is kind of leads into today's topic. So if you are, we've got a lot of videos on getting started on keto. If you are just getting started on keto, my suggestion is always do not worry about how much you're eating.
Right.
Don't worry about how much you're eating for like at least the first 2 to 3 weeks, because it is hard enough to all of a sudden give up all of the sugar, the pasta, the grains, the starchy vegetables, all of that stuff. You need to get your body fat adapted. I promise if you're only eating good fatty meats and maybe a few vegetables and things like that and eggs and stuff like that, you are not going to really be able to overeat. So what I would say to you is for the first 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to eat until you're comfortably full, eat 2 or 3 meals a day. The key is don't snack in between. If you have to eat 5 meals, like 5 meals until you're full, then do that. It will come down as the more fat adapted you get. But you're going to do that for the first 2 or 3 weeks. Do not count calories. Don't count fat and stuff like that. After you've gotten back into the lifestyle, after you have eliminated that and gone through all of the keto flu, then we can start worrying about how much you're eating.
Well, and I'm assuming that the reason why you're saying like how much should I eat is because you are looking for some weight loss, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much is appropriate, so when you are switching from a standard American diet to keto, you are going to have a whoosh of weight just in the inflammation alone. We call it like water weight and stuff, but really a lot of times it is inflammation. We were talking to our friends from the Tolson life. He has recently actually reduced his carbohydrate intake and, the sugar because he was going through shoulder surgery and didn't want to have that built up inflammation. And so Clay was sharing with us when we were at the RV show that he had like lost some weight, not that, he needed weight, not to lose any weight. And I said, that's inflammation though. So that is definitely stuff that if you're trying to recover from a surgery, you don't want to be holding on to.
Next one we have is from Angie.
Hey, Angie.
I'm reading a fictional book, nothing to do with keto or weight loss, but I just have to share this part. A mirror can't show your worth.
Oof.
A mirror can't reflect your heart. A mirror can't reveal your soul. You are so much more than a trick of silver under glass.
Wow. You are so much more than a trick of silver under glass. What a beautiful. Now, we've always said that the scale is the devil and the mirror is a liar because of just what she's sharing is that it's not telling you the whole story.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can be very critical of what we see in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody else was looking at our reflection in the mirror, they'd be able to notice all the good stuff that we're missing, that we are just not seeing because we're being super, super critical about this stuff. So we would have a very different take even on what we're seeing in that mirror. That's beautiful.
Next one's from Cookie.
Hey, Cookie.
2 things. One, I bought a prime grade brisket for $4.99 a pound. That's a good price. Was intimidated to smoke it, but I did, and it turned out great on a pellet Traeger. Number 2, I just tried my first chocolate beef tallow keto bread. Tastes like fudge or icing, a real special treat. I will have to monitor for sure.
Right.
I'm glad they're expensive. Might have to try Cape Pot next. Is that the flavor? Yeah, that is one of the flavors. Hey, when it comes to smoking meat, if you are new to smoking, if you're buying, meats, especially meats that we all consider good, but most people look at like it's the cheap cuts. One of the reasons it's cheap cuts is because it's a little bit more intimidating to cook it.
Sure.
Whether you're using a smoker or you're using an oven, if you go low and slow, it's almost impossible to screw it up.
Right.
Especially if you've got a Traeger grill, a Rack Tack, a Yoder, a Pit Boss, anything. If you just get yourself a meat probe, like something that you can monitor the temperature of it throughout the whole cook, not just an instant read, but something like the meter. Like we absolutely love the meter. There's a link for them down below. Some of the grills even have a probe in there. I always recommend using more than one.
Right.
So if you have a big brisket, put one in one spot and one in a different spot, just in case you hit a fat pocket. Because if you hit a fat pocket, it's going to give you the wrong reading. But starting just nice and slow, starting it at 230 degrees and letting it cook. It's going to take a long time to cook, especially if you have a big brisket. You're looking at 16 to 24 hours for a cook, but it's almost impossible to screw it up because you're cooking it so low. Where a lot of people screw up meat is when they cook at high temperatures, because they overcook it. It gets really
get it
dry.
done fast.
But something like a brisket or chuck steaks or anything like that, where it's like very fibrous and you need to break down those fibers, that low method, it's almost impossible to screw it up.
So I like to keep a variety when we talk about like when you're grocery shopping. We have intentions that we, going to have time to, make dinner and stuff like that. But that's why we like to have eggs and bacon and hamburger patties that are even like frozen and you can just pop in the air fryer, because inevitably there will be a time where I intended to have enough time to cook this roast, but it just, I had to work late, and then now what? So you don't want to make a bad decision because of schedule.
Yeah.
So that because you don't have time to cook it low and slow. So you always want to have some backup. That's why we have sardines. That's why we have canned chicken. You've got, some options on days where time just got away from you.
Yeah. Now, as far as the keto breakfast, again, we talked about it the other day. The new ones with tallow are amazing, but it is easy to overconsume them. I highly recommend separating them into portions, because it's going to be very easy to take a bite and walk away, come back, and the next thing you know, you've eaten 1,000-calorie brick in a day plus all of your food.
Right.
So don't do drive-bys with the keto bricks. Next one is from Mel.
Hi, Mel.
TMI warning for the guys. It's that time of the month again, and interesting, I did not get a headache this month the day before like I normally do.
Woohoo!
It could be beef, butter, bacon, egg. It probably is. But I've also been using more electrolytes than I usually do, so that could be as well. Either way, I'll take it. Two things on this. Number one, I get so frustrated with men who don't want to hear about a female menstruation cycle.
You are so right. Thank you. Yes.
It is a part of life.
Yes.
It is a natural thing. And I got news for you guys that don't like to hear it. Women don't want to hear some of the stuff you talk about either.
Right.
And I know that.
Yeah.
But
you see why I married him.
This is something that should be discussed about by men, especially because if you're married to a woman, you're going to be dealing with this for a long time.
Well, don't you care about
well, that's my point.
And
understand what they're going through. It is a major change and thing that affects their body every month.
Well, and I really appreciate your perspective on it. I mean, nobody's perfect, but I do appreciate the fact that, there's Joe, and then we raised 3 boys. So you're thinking, well, Rachel must never have had an outlet to be able to talk about these things. But no, we actually did talk about this when the boys were growing up. And I think it's made them better partners.
Yeah.
And then now that John Paul has had a daughter, like, it's good that he's not squeamish about talking about stuff.
Now, as far as the headaches and stuff, here's the thing that, we've learned, and Rachel's personally experienced, that eating a much more whole food diet, focusing on meat. So I'm not saying carnivore, but I would say your diet should be at least 80 to 90% meat. It really does for Rachel and a lot of our coaching clients and a lot of people we've talked to, even people like Nisha. I know it helped with Michelle even getting pregnant. Regulate cycles and take away from like some of the cramps and things like that. I know in talking to our friend Jonathan Shane, who specializes in women's medicine, said like the cramps and the headaches and all that stuff, that's not normal.
It's not necessary. We have just, because
it's normal in society, but it is not normal for your body.
Because a lot of people are on the standard American diet, then there is like a camaraderie there, because it's like, well, everybody experiences that. But by turning to a more, protein focused, meat heavy approach, that's why I didn't even realize that I had gone through menopause. Now that should supposed to be like a dumpster fire where
Yeah.
Joe needs to like run away from me, right? So it was a much different experience. So I'm glad to know that that is not regular. We don't need to accept things like that is the inevitable. And unfortunately, I think because it's common with a lot of people, that's why we accept things like, well, everybody gets type 2 diabetes, everybody has heart trouble, everybody is, gonna have some form of cancer and die of it. Like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Next one is from Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
This is my BMR. Which number of calories should I go by? BMR is 1259 or 1511 calories per day. I do 30 minutes of exercise every day. Okay, so BMR is something we talk about a lot. If you don't know what BMR is, it's your basal metabolic rate. It's what your body needs just to survive.
Right.
Here's the thing. I don't know where you got the BMR number. That seems kind of low.
Mm-hmm. DEXA scan?
There are BMR calculators.
Okay.
Here's the problem with the BMR calculator. If you go online, calculate my BMR, it's only basing your BMR off of your current weight and how old you are, and sometimes
height,
what your height is. But it's honestly probably the worst way to figure out what your BMR is, and I can promise you it is in no way, shape, or form accurate. Okay? If you want a more accurate, and even this is not going to be completely accurate, but a more accurate way for BMR, you really need to get yourself a DEXA scan or a true bod pod scan or something like that. Because to calculate your BMR correctly, you need to know what is your bone density, how much fat you have on your body, how much muscle you have on your body. Because like when you look at something like an online calculator, I'm not The Rock, but let's say I was The Rock and I went in and I put, I'm 54 years old. I weigh 280 pounds. I'm 6 foot. It is going to give me a different BMR than what The Rock's BMR is.
Right.
Why? Because muscle.
Yeah.
The more muscle you have, the higher your BMR. So because those online calculators don't really know that, it's not giving you an accurate BMR. So you really, if you want to know your BMR, you need to go spend $50 to $150 and get a DEXA scan. With that being said, even that's not 100% accurate because it isn't taking into account where you're, because this is basically metabolism. It's not taking into account what have you done to your body.
What's the past?
Yeah. So have you slowed down your metabolism by under eating for the last 5 years or 10 years or 20 years of your life? Were you already under eating your BMR? So if your BMR is 1500 and you're eating 1200, you've slowed down your metabolism. So that technically affects your BMR. But I still would not eat under what that number is. If you are gaining weight under that number, you need to do a reverse diet to increase your metabolism, and you need to put some muscle on because that's the only way you're going to increase your BMR. So what I would say, though, if you were looking at this based on the calculators, what you would be eating is 1500, but I'm telling you that's too low. That is the lowest you should ever go. And if you start there, there's no way to come down.
And somebody who has recently been going through a reverse diet that's in our Mighty Networks group is Pat Dyer. So you may want to reach out to her because she's been having some major success, utilizing a reverse diet. She's been doing things really carefully, tracking, really, really well. And so she can give you a fresh perspective of somebody who's currently doing that.
Next one is from Demarius.
Hey, I truly believe this lifestyle works and is the proper way to nourish our bodies. Consumerism has changed our way of thinking about food in a lot of things, right? Even the stuff that we need to have in our lives, right? They have created a more is more mentality with all the ads and false sense of health that they present. It's true. You do get more drugs, more eggs, more pains, more chronic illness, more mental illness, on and on. Just thinking about that after watching several commercials enticing me to purchase horrible products. That's a great perspective. And, that's always something that we kind of have to check ourselves on. A lot of people sort of do a little bit of like, we talk about doing a friendentory. You may want to do a social media inventory. You may want to, do a little bit of a television watching inventory, because the more that you are engaged with the screen, the more that people are trying to get you to get more, right?
Right.
Whether it is, I think you need more clothes, I think that you need more, decorations in your house, right? Like they're in business. It's not because they're, necessarily trying to undermine you, but they are trying to sell their product.
Mhm.
And the longer that we're sitting there waiting, the more susceptible we are to believe that somehow our life is going to be so much better with more stuff. But as somebody who has been going back and forth between houses and having to divest of ourselves of some stuff, like sometimes more is not better.
Yeah. Next one is from Joseph.
Hey, Joseph.
I'm a veteran. I use the VA medical system. I just had my lipid panel done. It was a standard lipid panel, HDL, triglycerides, etc. My doctors will do blood work I request. I have anemia. HbA1c is always high. Fructosamine is a more accurate test for me. I wonder if some people may have anemia and don't know it. Definitely possible.
Sure.
Now you're really blessed if you have a doctor that is willing to do blood tests.
Yeah.
That you ask for. If you are in a situation, if anybody's in a situation and their doctor will not do blood tests, check out Own Your Labs. There's a link down below. We make no money off of it, but we do have a discount down there. Own Your Labs is part of the Citizen Scientists Foundation. And basically you can order labs on your own in most states. Like New York is not one of them. You can order your own labs, and then you simply go to a local drawing station. Like for us, I think it's CBS or Walgreens. I don't remember whether it was CBS or Walgreens where we go. They draw your labs, and then a couple days later, you can see all your labs. And honestly, it's cheaper than even what the deductible is going to be for your insurance.
I just wanted to take a second to say thank you so much, Joseph, for your service as a veteran.
Next one is from Sandra.
Hey, Sandra.
Those who have stayed on carnivore for such a long time, please tell me what the secret is. I've tried carnivore and I'll last for about 4 days, and then I don't want to even look at meat of any kind. Beef, butter, bacon, and egg works better, but I need something that I can stay with, and a combination of maybe all three: carnivore period of time, beef, butter, bacon, egg, and then a ketogenic with some of the above ground vegetables can be added. There's no right, there's no wrong. Am I correct? You are correct.
You're
Listen.
correct.
Some people can stick to carnivore and they're fine only ever eating steaks. Dr. Sean Baker, he eats steaks. That's what he eats. He doesn't eat anything else. It's not sustainable for me. And that's okay. It is okay. Just eat a whole food diet. Your diet should consist mostly of meat. It should consist of mostly meat. The problem with vegetables is that it doesn't have the nutrients that we think they do. And that is because we farm on minerally depleted land here in the United States. Also, a lot of the vegetables that we're consuming are coming from other countries. That's why we are firm advocates of locally grown in season. And I will say locally grown between 300 to 400 miles. If it comes from more than 300 to 400 miles away, I wouldn't eat it.
It's not local for you.
It's not local. So if you look back, like we've been on a kick of watching Little House on the Prairie.
Oh my
lately,
gosh, I love
right?
that show so much.
You have to go back to before then. But if you go back to before then, before really the Industrial Revolution, before trains and things like that, if you were in Florida, you would not get an apple from New York. If you were up in Maine, you weren't getting oranges.
No.
How would you get them?
Right.
Okay, so eating avocados that come from Mexico and Guatemala, that's not what we should be doing. Take out the fact that they're growing and farming practices are different. Their definition of organic is different.
They're putting our farmers out of business.
We should be eating locally grown in season. So, for example, in Florida, mangoes are in season for about 3 weeks a year.
And that's it.
That means that's the only time, if somebody's going to eat a mango, you should be eating a mango. They should not always be available. When you eat things like that, it encourages your body to forage. Well, if you go back to, again, Little House on the Prairie or before, foraging meant going out and hunting for your food, harvesting your food.
We're just going to the refrigerator.
Foraging for us is go to the refrigerator.
Or the pantry.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
But I would say if you can't stick to carnivore, don't worry about it. And if you are on websites and Facebook groups and you are getting beat up, that carnivore is the only and the
Get off
best
of
way,
them.
get off of them. And that includes if you're in Dr. Barry's group. And we love Dr. Barry's group. And I think that there is some phenomenal information in there, especially from Dr. Barry and Nisha. But I have been in there, and we are like moderators in there, where there are people saying, if you eat anything other than a ruminant animal and salt, if you're adding pepper, garlic,
You've had a cup of
if you're
coffee.
drinking a cup of coffee, then you're not carnivore and you need to get out. If you're in groups like that, get out.
Yeah.
Just get out of them, because
Yeah.
it's not good for your mindset.
Well, and I mean, this is different. People can, things can roll off of Joe's back a lot easier than they roll off of mine. Like, he can be in things like Facebook groups, and like, even for RVing, they can get like crazy. And for me, it upsets me. It upsets my heart. It makes me sad. And so I can't tolerate things. That's the reason why, for the most part, a lot of times on YouTube comments, it's Joe that's in there on the battlefield.
Yeah.
If there's somebody saying something ugly, because it's really, it kind of, it pauses my day for sure. So if you're like, hey, this doesn't bother me, like, screw you, I'll do what I want, then you're probably safer to stay in those areas.
Yeah.
But like, if you're like me and you're like, this really makes me feel bad, then do yourself a favor. Nobody, we eat meat and a little bit of vegetables. Those are the rules. If you're looking for rules, but you thinking that you have to get stuck in a group that's mean to you, that is not a requirement for keto.
Now I need to clarify, because someone's going to take what I said out of context and say Joe said get out. My point is if you're in one of those groups and you are feeling manipulated by people telling you're doing it wrong, leave the group.
Right.
If you are one of those people in our group who feel that the best and only way to eat is to eat a Lion diet, you are welcome in our group. But we ask, do not beat up other people in our group and tell them that they're doing it wrong and they have to do it your way.
Right.
That is not welcome in our group, because our group is open to everybody, including like Mary, who is not eating a ketogenic lifestyle.
Exactly.
And has been with us for years, because we welcome everybody. The enemy is sugar, pasta, grains, overly starchy vegetables, big food, and big pharma.
And the mission for us is loving people.
Yeah.
So if people do not feel loved, do not feel cared for, do not feel like they're being cheered on and celebrated, then that's, we haven't achieved our goal.
Yeah.
And
a couple more.
Yeah.
Next one's from Jeannie. I
Hey,
need
Jeannie.
help. I'm a singer. I have to perform weekly as a soloist and a member of a praise team.
Wow.
I've relied heavily on cough drops to keep my throat and vocal cords moist enough to sing, but I can't find any keto carnivore friendly drops and lozenges. Can anyone help me? So you're not going to find any that say keto carnivore. Okay.
Right.
Rachel is in the same situation. She gets a dry throat, especially when we're speaking and stuff like that. And so what we do is we rely on like sugar-free Ricolas. Really, we get the Walmart version. They're all going to have some stuff in it. Just get the sugar-free ones. I even think some of them even use maltitol, but if you're only having one of them, like it's going to be better than eating a Luden's cough drop or something like that.
Yeah.
But yet we use the Ricola and then the Walmart, and I think Hall's has a sugar-free version as well.
Yeah. Also, having like hot tea, or something that just keeps it moist, because that's the goal, right? Is something that's just like soothing and keeps your, your throat and your voice moist. So having like even hot water with nothing in it, not even tea, has been beneficial, because it's just soothing. That's what I'm looking for, is soothing. And so I just keep a travel mug of like warm water, and that can be very helpful.
And the last one is from Donna.
Hey, Donna.
I truly miss these, or our kitchen videos.
Sorry.
So I just wanted to comment.
We got to build a kitchen first.
So our kitchen videos will come back. Our cooking videos will come back.
Winter is coming.
Rachel actually commandeered her mother's house recently.
Yes.
And filmed a bunch there while her mother wasn't home. So they will be coming back as soon as we can finish building a kitchen. It is very difficult to do it in an RV.
Yeah.
Because it is so small.
It's so tiny.
And so we're going to get into the comments, but speaking of that, we will say, as I mentioned earlier, exciting things happen. something unexpected happened
Yes, very unexpected.
over the weekend. So as you all know, we are brand ambassadors for Lyons Rd, or if
Love
you don't
'em.
know, we are brand ambassadors for Lyons Rv. We absolutely love the company. They do not give us free RVs, by the way. If you are curious, we have to pay for our RV.
I'm going to be a YouTuber so I can get free stuff.
No,
No.
it doesn't work that way. They do not give us a free RV. We get the blessing of promoting them,
Yes.
and they talk to us, and we get some inside track and stuff like that, but
Sure.
they don't give us a free RV. I would love them to give us a free RV, but then that would also mean that, am I talking about Alliance because we love them or because they gave us a free RV?
Yeah.
And so while we were there, when we bought this RV, so y'all know, for those of you who've been around, last year we picked up this RV. We picked it out while we were filming RV Unplugged. We picked it up in April up in Elkhart, Indiana. When we decided to get this RV that we are in right now, that we are living in, we did not know we would be living in it.
We were weekend warriors, and we needed something that fit on the side of our South Florida home because we do not believe in debt, and we didn't want to have something where we were
storage facility
making payments to like store,
especially because when you're doing that, statistically, people who don't store it at their house use it less.
Right.
But when we did buy this RV, we did not know we would be living in it. We had no intentions on buying a farm. We had no intentions on moving. And going from where we were to this one was a huge step up in the amount of space that we had, which we thought would be great because we wanted to travel and RV more.
Right.
So we're getting rid of this RV soon.
I can't believe it.
Rachel walked into an RV, something she said she would never have.
A fifth wheel.
And she fell in love with it. So we will be upgrading this RV to a slightly bigger one. It's actually more room inside, but shorter behind my truck.
Because a fifth wheel, you see it goes into the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
And that way it saves room. But everything's a give and a take. But what we were most excited for, was when I saw it, was there is basically a dedicated extra room.
Yeah, so there's an extra room, so we'll still have our bedroom, but then in the back of the RV,
place for live streaming,
it's an extra room. It's a bunkhouse that has 4 bunks, but we're having some custom work to it where one side will have a bed for Peyton with a loft above it for if we have another grandbaby coming with us. But on the other side, we're going to be removing the bunks and building an office back there, which will mean that when we're doing these live streams and stuff like that, we will have a dedicated place to do it.
Even on the road.
And that also means that we would get back our dining area, get back our kitchen so that we can do some cooking videos in the RV.
Huge.
More details on that coming. We're in the beginning stages. It looks like we're going to be picking it up the very end of March, beginning of April. And we're super excited about it because I think we're going to be able to bring more content for both our keto and our camping channel. We didn't go there planning to do that, but we've also always said your first RV will not be your last RV. I just didn't think we'd be upgrading in less than a year.
I didn't think so either, but it was a blessing. And we want to continue traveling. We want to continue being a part of that RV community. And we really appreciate the opportunity to in person share the message of keto, because again, it's all about people. It's all about loving people. And I find that the more that we can interact with people one-on-one, the more that we can share the love of this community, you know?
A lot of people saying, welcome to the Fiverr Club. Here's the thing. I've always said I don't want a fifth wheel.
Right.
The biggest reason I didn't want a fifth wheel is because of height. With the travel trailer, you don't really have to worry about height because we're at 11 feet 3 inches. And pretty much every bridge, traffic lights, all that is higher than that, usually at least 12 feet. And so this is going to be 13 feet 3 inches tall. And we will be putting the MORryde independent suspension on it. So I'm hoping that doesn't increase the height anymore. But if you own a fifth wheel, if you want to preserve your fifth wheel, take a look at the MORryde independent suspension. It is pricey, but it will make your rig last so much longer.
Yes.
Driving with it is night and day. If you drive a trailer that has independent suspension, you will never want to own one without it. But
smooth.
as you drive down the road, you go from your RV doing this to this because it's an independent. It's like floating on air. It's amazing. So, the height thing. It means I'm gonna have to pre-plan more with my driving than I ever do with a travel trailer. But happy wife, happy life. But the other thing was always, I don't want to give up the bed of my truck, and I still don't. So we're going with a gooseneck version of it.
What is a gooseneck?
Instead of having this big giant hitch in the back of your truck, there is a single ball, just like what's on the back of the truck now.
Balls.
And it's mounted in the middle of the bed, and this piece comes down. It actually makes your truck not jerk as much.
It's less of a jerk.
And
the truck should be less of a jerk.
You have a lot more room around it, but when you disconnect, you still have your whole bed, as opposed to having to pull out that 200-pound hitch. Also, we don't want to upgrade my truck. Our truck will be paid off in 2 weeks.
It's getting paid off in 2 weeks.
So we had to find something that our truck can tow legally and safely. Like, I always have to say legally and safely, because people will say that can tow it, but it's really about cargo capacity. And so we wanted to find one that would fit within our cargo capacity, and I think we did. So we're super excited about, Barbara said our son is an engineer in research and development at Moride. We absolutely love Moride.
A business of integrity.
Yeah.
Like I just love them. And there's a lot of just new innovations coming. One of the things that's cool is they just never stop trying to make things better. There are always to improve RVing experience, and they're manufacturers. So like, what is really cool is inventors can come to them with ideas, and then they can bring those ideas to life. But what I love about Moride is they don't steal ideas. They like continue to work with the inventor and let them be able to just like have that creative control. We were recently, speaking with somebody. It was in our last Two Crazy Campers video from this weekend, where we were talking to a gentleman that he's a mechanical engineer who has discovered a way to make the black tank experience so much better. And Moride is helping to kind of facilitate bringing that to the public space. And what a blessing.
Yeah. So Dustin put up, maybe you'll be there with the Bears. That is actually the plan.
Yeah.
If everything works right with the build, we'll actually be picking up on the same day as the Bears, because we will be with the Lions. But ours is being built in a different plant, because they're buying a Paradigm and we are buying an Avenue. If you are curious, we're buying the Avenue 30BH. Okay, so Darlene said, I'm confused. If I should eat until I'm comfortably full or try to eat minimum of 2 times, as Joe says, I'm only 4'10". Both. You want to, I'm not a big advocate of OMAD, especially in women. But you're not gonna be able to get all your nutrition in a single meal, especially at 4'10". So 2 meals until you're not eating until you're gonna vomit. You're eating until I feel good.
I can step away. So for somebody, so that is going to look different for everybody, right? So I'm 5'7.5". And so how many burger patties it takes for me to get comfortably full and then walk away is probably going to be different than you. But that's okay. That's when we talk about an N=1 experiment. Basically, like, you are going to have to do things like for you. But that's another reason why I like to batch cook things, whether it is ground beef or it is meatballs, or it is bacon, so that I have it. And then while we're eating, I'm not just going to fry up one hamburger patty, and assume that that's going to fill me up. I'm just like, hey, if I am dirtying a pan, I am going to do 4 or 5 or 6 hamburger patties. I'm going to put them on the counter. I'm going to put one on my plate. I'm going to eat that. And I'm going to say, well, do I still feel hungry? Then I'm going to go back over to that plate of hamburger patties and get more and continue that process until I know that I'm comfortably full.
Teresa's got a question for travel. What travel insurance do you recommend for cruise, and at what level do you recommend? Depends on what you're looking to do. If you just want the cruise one is good unless you're in certain states, like they won't cover you in New York. You have to go with an outside company. I always recommend, and I help people book Lyons. so if you, Allianz will cover not just your cruise. I don't know why this is binging when I just told it to do not disturb. Um, so if you're looking to cover your cruise, your flights, your hotel, and all like that, I use Allianz. What level you just get? I always just do like a group plan kind of thing, where it saves a little bit of money, or their world travel. If you're traveling 2-3 times a year and you want that full coverage kind of thing, I always recommend getting an annual plan. So we have Allianz annual plan. It's like a $5,000 plan. And with that, it's like $700 a month, but it covers both people, like a husband and a wife, or 2 people. But with that, it covers everything. It'll cover up to $5,000 for the year total for the policy. They also have a $10,000 one for if you have to cancel your trip. So if you have to cancel your trip, you're sick, whatever, they'll pay you $5,000 back or whatever up to that. But if you do it and you use all $5,000, that part of the benefit is gone for the year. But then there's also like $1 million in medical, which is much more important to me.
Yeah.
$50,000 in rental car. So I never have to get insurance from a rental car company because it covers all of that. Lost baggage, reimbursement of points if you flew on points, things like that. And that stuff resets on every trip. And it is good on car trips so long as the trip is more than, I think it's 150 miles from your house.
So if somebody was wanting to reach out to you,
send me an email, 2kktravel@gmail.com. Let's see. John said, when starting, focus on eliminating carbs. Don't worry about anything else. Once the cravings and excessive hunger are gone, then you can focus on underchanging. Absolutely.
So true.
Sabrina says, question, does anybody take pills for motion sickness when going on a cruise? Mark, Burt Reynolds, gets seasick pretty easy, so want to have something in case. I recommend the ear patches. Get the ear patches. Then you don't have to bother with taking pills. The thing with pills, you have to put them on. You have to start taking them the day before.
Yes.
If you forget, like, I'm experiencing seasickness, popping the pills not going to really help. So everybody I know has a lot of success with those ear patches. I honestly can't attest to it because I've never been seasick and I have no idea what it's like. So I really
he doesn't know the hurt.
But you don't get seasick
anymore. I don't anymore, but I'm telling you, it was awful before keto. Awful.
Mary said, I did a brisket in the Instant Pot. I was skeptical, but it turned out great. When it was done, I slathered it with red mint smoked salt and finished it in an air fryer. There you go.
Oh my gosh. I want to teleport to where you are.
Trish said, I'm trying to avoid cooking in my oven. I've cooked so much bacon lately that it's completely covered in grease and sets off the alarm every time I try. Rachel's been setting off the alarm, the smoke alarm in the RV every night. So it's right here.
The hamburger grease gets very thick.
There's the smoke detector right behind us.
He's like,
and I have the Ring alarm system,
right,
which knows when that smoke detector goes off. And then so my phone starts going that your Ring is going off. So you got to sit there and kind of wave it. You got to jump up and wave it before the Ring detects it.
Jump,
and so I understand that.
Makes you want to jump.
Risa said, this is why I prep cooked meats, chicken wings on the Ninja wood fire oven, ground beef, carne piccata.
Perfect.
Easy to heat up and make a meal. Last night, I heated up chicken wings on the table in 20 minutes.
See, that's brilliant. Because again, I mean, we have, what do we talk about? Like the best laid plans of mice and men, right? They sometimes things don't work out. That's another reason why we love keto chow. Having keto chow, and we will prep like a whole bunch of them at once. And usually they'll last like 9 days in the refrigerator. And over the course of 9 days, if we're not on triple B&E, we heavily rely on keto chow for that moment of like, oh crap, things went sideways. We can still grab 2 keto chows and like have a meal.
I mean, with this week, I mean, we're on beef, butter, bacon, egg, but this was the week that we would have been utilizing keto chow. It's like running out the door. I don't want to cook. I don't want to get out of bed. And like Rachel's like, what time are we leaving? I'm like, 6:30, 7 o'clock. What time are you getting out of bed? 6:25 or 7:55?
Right.
What? Well, that's when I'm getting out of bed.
I want every minute I can.
So instead we're like stopping at a gas station and getting a breakfast sandwich it's been a while, but to go to Wawa and buy a bacon and egg biscuit and then throw out the biscuit and it's $4.55.
I'm thankful to be home this week because I feel like we're saving a ton of money.
So
because,
people who say keto chow is expensive, when's the last time you got an Egg McMuffin?
Yeah.
Again, one of the days we were like, I'm going to get a sausage McMuffin at McDonald's and throw out the muffin. And then Rachel's like, I have a coupon. Well, the woman used the coupon on the car in front of us.
We
so then
we're
like, well, here's my coupon. And they're like, well, you already used it. I'm like, no, she screwed up and said to redo it. And we're like, well, now it's too late. And it was almost $5 for a sausage McMuffin that I'm throwing out the muffin.
So I just had to gently remind Joe that this will not always be the case.
No, that's where we would use keto
chow will come back into our life after beef, butter, bacon, and eggs.
Tam said, "Hey guys, I'm getting back on the keto bandwagon on the bandwagon with keto. I think the thing that surprised me most is how I am not hungry. Once my body starts to adapt when I'm not eating keto, I can't stop eating."
We are so glad you're back.
JJ said he's missing Rachel's every time in y'all's intro.
Thank you.
Let's see. John said, yeah, I'm pretty sure women don't like dealing with it any more than men like talking about it.
Right.
But again, I think that we're doing a disservice to women. Ola said, now menopausal, but I switched to turmeric after keto when I still had a cycle.
Nice.
Trish said, the walnuts my ninja foodie is an embarrassment. A great culinary version of the Jackson Pollock painting.
That's awesome.
John said the problem with BMR calculation is they are always wrong. Yeah, pretty much. So, okay, we are going to get off. Guys, we really appreciate everybody for joining us. Now, we will be back live on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then Rachel will also be back live at 10 a.m. in our Meatheads group. If you're new to our channel, our Meatheads group is the paid version of our Mighty Networks group where people choose to support us for $5, $10, or $25 a month. Thanks for joining us, guys.
We love you.
Bye.